All right, so now let's talk about chapter 9, right? The profits of stock. Some key points. First, profits of stock. They fall with the increase of stock. And because of that, profits are lower in towns than in countryside. Okay, why is that? Because think about it, right? The more stock being employed in the same trade, that will increase the competition of the employers in this trade, right? And as a result, this competition would drive down profit. Uh, okay, let's move on. And because there are more stock in towns, right? More competition in towns than countryside, then the rate of profit is lower in towns than in the countryside. Okay, but here's one problem. The rate of profit is difficult to estimate. Why is that so? Because there are several variations uh, that the profit of a businessman depends on, right? One is the variations in the price of commodities that he deals in, right? Because of the change in supply and demand, the variation can be rather large sometimes. And also, the profit of a businessman, right, depend on the good or bad fortunes, both of his competitors and his customers, right? If his competitor somehow got lucky, right, and they got very rich and can increase, can hire more laborers, can buy more machines, then he's screwed, right? But if his competitors got unlucky and had some misfortune, then he can increase his profit without doing much extra work. And also for customers, right? Sometimes you are doing just as well, right? You're just operating as before, but then your customers suddenly all become poorer due to some other circumstances, then you are screwed too. And then the third thing is accidents in the transportation of storage of goods, right? So due to all these reasons, profits are difficult to estimate. However, the rate of interest can serve as approximation for the average rate of profit in a nation. Why is that so? The logic goes like this, right? So higher profits in a nation would allow creditors in this nation to charge higher interest, while lower profit in another nation in the nation, right, would limit the interest rate in the nation. Makes perfect sense, right? The more you can make by using money, the more you can make by lending money out for others people to use it. Using England as an example, right? That's a very strong evidence. The interest rate in England, the legal interest rate, right, in England has fallen from 10% in the time of Henry V, who ruled in the 1500s, to about 8% and then to about 4% right before the 7 Years' War, which happened in the mid 1700s, right? So in the course of about 200 years, right, the interest rate has fallen from 10% to about 4%. While in the meantime, England's wealth was certainly increasing, right? So that's strong evidence as the wealth increase, stock increase, more competition in the trades, profits fall, and as a result, interest rate fall. Here are some more examples, right? More evidence. Profits in different places. As mentioned before, profits are lower in towns than in countryside, and Scotland is poorer than England, and actually market interest rate is higher in Scotland than in England, as shown in the table here. You see people with good credit in Scotland, they usually borrow at a rate greater than 5%, whereas their counterparts in England usually borrow from 3.5 to 4.5%, right before the 7 Years' War. And then private bankers in Edinburgh, they borrow at 4%, meanwhile their counterparts in London can borrow at the 0%. That's very interesting. And these rates are still lower in Holland, right? Which is even richer nation than England. And in some poor places, for example, Bengal, which is modern day Bangladesh, the money is lent to farmers at 40 to 60%, right? In a poor country, somehow the profit is very high, right? Because the stock, there's not that much stock, not that much wealth, right? And the competition is low, and that's the reason why they have high profits. But still, right, large fortunes are made in great towns despite lower rate of profit. Why is that? Because in a great town, right, the trade can be extended as the stock increase because the market is large. But in some remote places, yeah, sure, you can have high rates of profit, but after you accumulate certain extent of wealth, you cannot manage to employ more people or sell your stuff to more people with a profit, right? So you're kind of limited. And another interesting point is new colonies would raise profit. Why is that so? Right? Let's go into the details. So in new colonies, high wages and high profits, they can go together. And the new colonies, they have more land than they have enough stock, right? They have tools and cattle to cultivate, and whatever cattle and instruments of agriculture they have must be applied to the most fertile and most favorably located land, right? They can find. So as a result, new colonies have very can produce that, can have land that produce very high profit, right? Because these lands are very fertile. But afterwards, right, after this best land is occupied, less profit can be extracted. Let's look at some example, right? So in the both the legal and market interest rate are about 6 to 8% in the British North America and West India colonies. And we look back at England itself, right? The interest rate is about 4%, right? Which means the profit is about perhaps about 4%. Profit has to be more than that, right? Yeah. Or else there's no point borrowing the money. But the point is, the interest rate is lower in England than in the North American and West India colonies. That means profit must be lower too, right? That means profits is higher in North American and West India colonies. Okay. And Adam Smith also mentioned that these rates had been gradually reducing in the 18th century because of the reason mentioned before, right? Because the best land has been occupied, the rest of the land are less ideal, and the rate of profit would gradually go down. And he also mentioned that new territories, right? Sudden increase of suddenly acquiring new territories can also increase profit. Why is that so? Because new profits, right? new territories, they open up new markets, right? New trades. And as a result, stock previously employed in old trades, right, will be drawn towards the new trades in the new territories, right? And then that will reduce competition in the old ones, the old trades. So let's look at this map, right? Example is the 7 Years' War. After the 7 Years' War, you can see the British territory in North America, which is colored in pink here, increased drastically, right? And then with this new land comes new opportunities to employ your money, your stock as an employer, right? There are many different trades in the new colony, like I'm just guessing, like maybe catching some otter and then get their skin, right? Animal skin and so on and so forth, get their fur, right? That will draw stock from old trades and reduce the competition in the old ones. And as a result, what can be observed is people with best credit in London after the 7 Years' War were borrowing at 5%, whereas previously they were borrowing at about 4%. That means profits in England, at least in the vicinity of London, has increased as a result of the newly acquired territory after the 7 Years' War. All right.